good to see you guys back as well. Obviously, it's been a while since I called, but just really, really devastated about Charlie Kirk. I hope the United Kingdom did him proud when we did that march.
Yeah, that was massive.
Yeah, there was about this. They reckon about 3 million, but mainstream media said 150,000.
You know how they do. That's what they did for the inaugurations and everything.
Yeah. Well, I didn't, or I haven't yet been abducted by aliens.
Okay,
That's
well,
good news.
that's a first. You have had so many stories. I would imagine that you would have had some alien experience.
Well, this isn't a, well, I was waiting to say this isn't a personal story, but I suppose you know, actually, yeah, it is. It directly affects everybody, because I looked into it. You know how I mentioned before, how come everybody in the West is suffering exactly the same things?
In what way?
Like, um, the law being used against people, you're not allowed to speak out. Freedom of speech is being clamped down. Uh, the justice system's been weaponized. Illegal immigrants just going mental.
Yeah, so I think it's insane. So for the attack on our rights and the government being weaponized against Americans is unfortunately decades old problem. You know, I was just on IRL before this show, and I mentioned COINTELPRO when we were talking about this Arctic frost situation where our government has been caught spying on Republicans, as well as Charlie and TPUSA, which reminded me of COINTELPRO when they were secretly spying on Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., and a whole bunch of people, which, in my opinion, led to those assassinations. I do think the government was involved in those assassinations. We still don't really have answers to those assassinations. So in terms of our privacy, our rights, our right to assemble, our freedom of speech, it's always been under attack because they hate dissident voices having any sort of platform, any sort of voice. So there's that. And what was the other one? The lawfare against us. And was that it? And like the constant lawfare, like against Trump. That is something that we saw happening against Trump. But even before that, you know, I've been thinking about Alex Jones this weekend because he's been told he has to give up InfoWars. Again, it might actually happen this time. But when they went after Alex, this is kind of both these things put together, the lawfare and the freedom of speech. He was one of the first to be deplatformed. There was Milo also, but Alex was a really big one. They connected him to Sandy Hook. They made it almost seem like he was behind Sandy Hook. I know people who think he was the killer. I know people who don't even know who Adam Lanza is. And they're like, they just attach Alex's name, which is by design. So they do that because they don't want you asking questions. And if they can't kill you, which they certainly can, they'll set an example. And they can do that both ways. They can do that with killing you. They can also do it with lawfare and taking away your money, fighting you. Like I've mentioned on the show, I've done reporting on an FBI whistleblower. She called out unethical practices within the FBI. She loved her job and she saw them going after good people, having these weird blips in the system that allowed people to go through background checks quicker than usual, which she believes could lead to something like a Butler, Pennsylvania situation, which is a whole other incompetent hellhole. But yeah, it's insane. It's been going on for a long time. And now the scarier part, I guess, now that we're all going through in terms of what you were saying and people all kind of going through the same thing, is that during COVID, we saw the establishment effectively turn your neighbors, your family, your friends into authoritarians and weaponize that power. They could wield it against you because they lived in fear. And so the establishment outsourced all of that authority to people who supposedly loved you. And that's crazy. You know, that's how, I don't know how we back out of that. You see the bloodlust that we're stuck in right now. And, you know, those are the ramifications.
Well, I looked into it, and first of all, I would like, well, it's not really me, because it's actually Britain and the establishment, the ground-in establishment. We're talking about people from the establishment. We're talking about well over 100 years here. I don't know if Brandon could Google the Fabian Society.
Oh, yeah.
And if you look at the Fabian Society and look at the very first picture and put it up so people in chat could see it as well, and tell me what you see.
All right, I hear clicking. We are pulling up the
Yeah, it was
Fabian.
it was
Did you
it was
say
established in the in the 1800s.
Fabian. You're looking. Are you talking about the shield?
FAB what?
IAN.
Yeah, Fabian.
Yep.
It's a shield. The colors are red, yellow, black.
So what are you seeing? I know what I'm seeing.
A wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, not even good. The sheep is just draped over the very sinister
Yeah.
looking wolf.
Is that what
Well,
we're looking at? This kind of crest thing here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So show the
Well,
people.
this is basically a socialist think tank that was established in the 1800s. Now, George Orwell was like a Labour guy, and
Yeah.
he was a member of the Fabian Society, and he was so horrifically frightened by it, he actually left and wrote the 1984 book.
That's right. Yeah, he was a part of this, and
Yeah.
he saw the dangers.
And the problem with the Fabian Society is the British Prime Minister's a member, the London Mayor's a member, 10 members of the British Cabinet are members. There's members in the United Nations, the IMF, the World Bank, the European Union Bank. They were actually members of the Fabian Society in the FBI, or America's Secret Service, before it was called the Secret Service. I think it was called the SS something or SC something.
Right.
Because I looked into it and I thought, holy shit, they're all the professors at universities. They're actually, some, depending on how old the university is, they were actually in there when they were starting the universities. Their ethos was, when they had that wolf in sheep's clothing, they then thought, that's not really good, because it's showing we're showing our hand here. The next icon that they did was a turtle, slow and steady, but infiltrate all the organisations and etc. And I thought it was just a British thing, but no, this bullshit goes worldwide, and it shocked the life out of me. Right through all the judiciary, the police. Britain's fucked anyway. I mean, it's nice when to hear you guys, being behind your police, because you do have good police. Majority you do.
Try.
In the UK, no, we don't. And I remember when I was a kid, when you were getting taught about history, World War One, World War Two, and I says to my history teacher, how could the Nazis have hoodwinked so many people? How could they have done that? Well, we saw it in real time with COVID. Snitch on your neighbour.
Yep.
Families are falling out. You're losing your job. You can't leave the house. If you do leave the house, you're getting arrested. If you take your dog for a walk, you're getting arrested.
Yep.
And now Keir Starmer's bloody pushing through this digital ID, which Tony Blair's been banging on about. And here's me thinking, oh, Trump's okay. Sometimes Trump does stuff that makes me scratch my head. He is going to be putting Tony Blair into Gaza. You've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I question it too.
Oh, and also, he's a big Fabian guy as well.
How do you feel about the digital ID?
We're not doing it. We're not doing it. If I have to get arrested, that's just simple as. I'm one of those fortunate people, and I know a lot of people are in my situation. I'm debt free. My house is paid.
Yeah.
And I have a substantial amount of money in my bank. If I lost my job, because I'm not going to have a digital ID, I'm in a position where I can do that. I know a lot of people aren't.
I was just going to ask, do you think the people are going to reject that, or are they embracing it?
Well, of course they are. Well, I'll give you an example. I was out and I had to get a cab, and you know how I could talk for Scotland, and I was blathering to the taxi driver, because they're usually a good sort of barometer about because they speak to people, you know.
Yep.
And so I was blathering to him about it, and he says, "Oh, I couldn't believe it. I had picked somebody up, and he's going on about the digital ID, and the taxi driver says, "Oh no, I'm not having it." And the guy went, "What have you to hide?" He's like, "Well, why do they need it? We've got our driver's license, we've got passports, bank accounts. They practically know bloody everything. What else? What do they need that for?" Now, the running thing that they're saying that they need this digital ID for, the first time around, Tony Blair was going, oh, COVID, we need, for health and things like that, it consolidates everything, makes it easier. So that was bullshit. And then the next thing they've come up with now is, to help with migrants. Well, I'm awfully sorry, but I'll take what you've said and we'll apply it with an American twist. We want everybody to hand over their guns so nobody gets killed. Well, it's the illegals that's the problem, or the criminals that's the problem here.
Yeah,
They think we're stupid. They think we're thick. We're going to be on the streets here. I mean, not that long ago, this Muslim extremist killed 2 people and injured another 3 or 4 at a synagogue in London. And then a couple of days later, somebody set a mosque on fire. So really, we're on the edge here.
Yeah, it looks like it. I mean, it looks insane. It's insane everywhere.
If anybody in chat, even you guys, if you look into that Fabian stuff, because it was, how I said before, well, go down a rabbit hole and you're like, oh Christ, what the hell's happened here? This Fabian bullshit is in everything. Absolutely everything. And it even goes back, I mean, pockets of time in history, the Fabians are behind it. They were behind, the hippies, the 60s and the 70s. That's when the debauchery started, right? When they were showing their hand about the debauchery. It goes back further than that. On the BBC main building in London, there's a statue done by Eric Gill, and it's a statue of a man with a naked child in front of him, right? Now, the problem with this sculptor was he did bad things to his daughters. I'll let your imagination go there. He also did bad things to the family dog.
Sheesh.
And he was also a member of the Fabian Society.
Yep.
Now, one guy, I'll just say this one thing quick. One guy actually managed to steeplejack up to this stupid, daft sculpture in front of the BBC of this. Honest to God, this guy that did the sculpture and the BBC. I mean, you couldn't make this up. They're doing it all in front of our faces, and they think we don't know what's going on. Well, this guy went up to try and chip it down because of what it stood for and the fact it was a BBC. And obviously he got pulled down and arrested. They repaired that statue and they covered it in perspex so it wouldn't get damaged ever again.
Oh man, how are we in such an absurd world?
I mean, a thing like what was I saying? The European Union Bank is so clandestine, it's as bad as the Vatican Bank. It's one of those dark banks like the IMF and all the rest of it.
Yep. Yeah, we got to we got to get rid of the Fed over here. I mean, the banks are controlling.
That was another thing the Fabians got involved with was federal bank.
Right.
I mean, this lot have been going on for the 1800s. I can't believe how much their tentacles are spreading into things.
Of course. And it's not just the Fabians. There's so many groups out there, who want to subvert reality, subvert morality, subvert humanity, and slowly take over. It made me think of what Yuri Bezmenov says that the KGB does to undermine a society. What is it? I'm pulling that up. The steps, the stages of collapsing a society: demoralization, destabilization, crisis, normalization, and we can get deeper into that at some other point. But you look at those. If you look at Yuri Bezmenov, if you haven't seen him talk about it, if you haven't looked it up, I highly suggest everyone doing it because we are in. I would say normalization, like we're maybe at the end of crisis into normalization. We also have talked about, like, after Charlie was assassinated, we talked about the actual turning points that there's some theories about that, where you're in these generational turnings, and which kind of you could fit into this, where we're going through violent change, creating desperation, pushing to the breaking point. Those are some of the moments within the crisis, and the normalization would be the new order, solidified control, cynical term. So in the normalization, it would be accepting the digital ID, accepting the surveillance state, which is kind of already here, but the digital ID would then marry the surveillance state and then bring about a monstrous social credit score. That's also kind of already here, But just think how easy that's going to be when you're plugged into everything and you've done something either online or in public that the people controlling all this deem to be bad, and done. Turn your car off, turn the bank off.
A simple thing like, say you guys go to the casino and you win big, say $10,000, and you put that into your bank account with this digital ID. Government, okay, what's that? Right, we need to tax that, or where'd you get that money from, or whatever, or you get a gift from somebody, say a great aunt writes, puts something in her will about you, and you get this. I don't need anybody to tell me, number one, what the hell I do with my money and how the hell I spend it. And they've also been doing in the UK as well as debanking people.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do you know Nigel Farage? They debanked him,
yep.
And he was with the bank Coots, which is who the Queen was with.
Yep. Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. I mean, there's been people who aren't like, there's influencers over here who aren't like even that massive who are debanked for saying, for wrong think. Fuentes, Milo, Trump has maybe not Trump. I'm not sure about Trump. I'm just saying Kanye though. Alex Jones has been. He went through so many things after all the tech companies got together and said, we're going to, basically blast him out of the internet. And then it wasn't just that. It was like, I think like Airbnb and like software that his business was using.
Things like MasterCard and Visa, they should be getting looked into and getting taken to court as well.
Yeah, but we bailed them out.
Even companies they don't agree or align with, oh well, I'm sorry, but we'll just cut off that payment for you because we don't align with you.
Yep.
And you don't align with us.
Because it's always aimed at the people. I see Cisco in the chat. He says Canadian truckers. Exactly. They just hate the people.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Well, before we let you go, I have to ask. Last week we saw news about a new creature that was spotted in the Loch Ness. Have you heard about that?
Yes. Yeah, I actually watched that episode. Yes, I did see that actually. But the thing is, you see, it didn't look like a man's hand sticking out of the water.
Yeah, I have my reservations.
But there are, and the thing that got me was the speed it was going, because sometimes they'll say, oh, it's logs, because, there's lots of trees around the loch, and logs do fall in it. But the fact, get your thumbs down. But yeah, it looked like it was moving pretty fast.
It looked like it. That's what they were saying. And were you aware of this job to be a monster hunter on Loch Ness?
No, it didn't. I didn't,
Pays well.
Because I could have applied for that, could have done a live stream. It's live stream and connected to you and goes, oh, look, here we are.
Yeah, you're our lady on the ground in Scotland who could cover this stuff.
That's another thing I was going to say as well. Apparently, now I don't know if this is true or not. Brandon's very welcome to look it up. Scotland apparently is a hotspot for UFOs.
I've seen that.
And there's a triangle.
Yep. Yeah, people seeing out there the triangles out there a lot, and there's probably some military bases nearby. If I had to.
Yeah, there's quite a few. There's two. There's Kinloss and Lossiemouth. There's an army base in Lookers. That used to be an RAF base, but the Kinloss and Lossiemouth, they're where you've got your Eurofighters and things like that.
Yep. Well, it is always a pleasure to hear from you. Thank you so much for calling in, and keep us posted.
You're very welcome.
Yep. We'll talk soon.
You guys have a great night.
Thank you.
Nice to see you back.
Thank you.
Thanks, Captain.